You're listening to CFRO 102.7. This is a Monday Brown Bagger on Co-op Radio. My name is Kevin Kelso. We're here with DJ Ball. He's in the house. He's going to sit down with us and join the fun. Later on, we're going to have Mike Rivera, which would be huge. But right now, we're going to talk with Matt Berkowitz and Shannon McKenzie from the Zeitgeist movement. The viral video phenomenon known as Zeitgeist has been exploding on the internet. It's had well over 100 million views, probably the most viewed documentary on the internet. Anyone that hasn't seen it should definitely go to Google Video and see it for free. You just type in Zeitgeist, Zeitgeist. Along with all the hype about these films is an emerging mass movement of people who want to do something about the shadowy monetarist system, which is being further exposed every day. We will get to the Venus Project in a minute, but first I want to welcome Matt and Shannon to the show. Welcome, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to start with Matt here. What made you get involved in all this?
Well, I guess it was October of 2008 where I discovered both Zeitgeist films online, and the material really resonated with me. For quite a while I'd felt quite alienated and isolated from society, from the artificial values around me. And after I saw the films, I just went to work doing a lot of research, really for months on end, researching all the topics that the films discuss. And the ideas that the Venus Project proposed really resonated with me, and I knew that with the material I had learnt, I had to get involved and further this information to inform people.
Right on. And you were in economics in college, weren't you?
I did just graduate from commerce, actually, ironically.
Yeah, so that gives you a very unique perspective, and you kind of see both sides of the coin. And
that's right.
Which I think really qualifies you to speak on some of these topics such as monetarism. Shannon, we'll get you the mic here. Can you briefly give us an idea of what the Venus Project is all about?
Well, the Venus Project is really the brainchild of a gentleman named Jacques Fresco, who is a social engineer and an industrial designer. And it's actually, the project itself is located out of Venus, Florida, in case you thought it was on another planet. It's not. It's located in Venus, Florida. And basically, the underlying current of the Venus Project is the resource-based economy, and that we look at the world not by the economic system that we currently have, but determining what are the resources that we have available. And do we have the people? Do we have the engineering? Do we have the knowledge? Do we have the resources to solve the world's problems? And some of the tenets of the Venus Project are declare all the world's resources a global heritage or a common heritage, as opposed to the top 1% of the planet's wealthy exploiting everything. The other thing is that we continue to think of civilizations as emergent, or not as emergent, but as static. You're either civilized or you're not civilized, when in fact most civilizations are emergent societies and civilizations. And we need a society that's fluid, that moves quickly, that doesn't protect the old established systems, and is able to move forward into the future. And that's one of the other tenets of that, is to create that kind of a society. We use scientific method to resolve the society's problems and the planet's challenges, and it's the scientific method mitigates bias, prejudice, and preconception. And finally, there's actually about 9 or 10 of them, but I'm going to cover before them. And at its core, we're talking about intelligently managing the Earth's resources to solve the world's most pressing problems. Most of these issues are technical in nature. They're not political problems. And we've developed a political system to solve them, and that's not working.
Absolutely correct, yeah. Well, everything I've learned about the Venus Project makes a lot of sense to me. We'll have to see how it works in implementation. One of the things that really intrigued me about the Zeitgeist movement is their exposition of the monetary system. I'm always amazed at the disparity between what the public knows about how the system works and how it actually works. I mean, people don't really know how money is created, where it comes from, or how this works and who it benefits. They think it benefits them, but it's pretty far from the truth. I'm going to ask Matt. Can you try to explain how this works to the audience, and sort of in layman's terms?
Yeah, there's probably 2 avenues I can go there. The first would be the actual mechanisms that guide how the monetary system works. With fractional reserve banking, how money is created. Most people really have no idea, and it really starts when in the U.S. or any country, with their central bank, they sell bonds to the government. Basically, it's created out of thin air. And then this money is deposited into a commercial bank account where it becomes the basis for loans. And then these loans can be multiplied 9 times. the loans that the banks give, they don't actually come from the bank reserves. They're actually created out of thin air just because there's a demand for them. And this is the only way in which money can come into existence, is through loans. So
these are private institutions with basically a license to counterfeit money.
That's exactly right.
For their own profit.
If you or I did that, we'd be behind bars.
Yeah, and then they're charging high interest, and we're all stuck in this debt trap.
That's right, yeah. So money is created out of debt, and money actually is debt when it comes down to it, because if you look at the trends of national debt and the money supply, they virtually run the same patterns. And on top of this, there's interest that you have to pay back. And the money that's created when banks create loans it actually does not create enough to cover the interest outstanding, which means you always have to create more money, always have to have more loans to cover the perpetual deficit, which was caused by the interest. So it means inflation is a constant. It means our money is constantly being devalued, and there's basically nothing to keep the government in check from spending more and more money.
Yeah, it's a system of exponential growth, which doesn't create any new wealth. At least not by definition. It's not necessary. They prefer if it doesn't, because then there's less money to go around, and more people have to work harder to pay it off.
Yeah. The second point, which is probably even more important, aside from these obvious frauds of how the monetary system is structured, we should look at the behavioral and psychological ramifications of money. So, number one would be the mechanism of cyclical consumption, meaning that consumers have to constantly buy things to keep the system afloat. And the consequence of this is that nothing physically produced can ever maintain a lifespan longer than what can be endured by the economy to maintain this cyclical consumption. And what it also generates is tremendous waste. It really is unbelievable how much waste there is out there. Think of how many cars are just sitting in parking lots every day, not being put to use. And then it also creates things like planned obsolescence, how our products are designed literally to break down usually right after the warranty runs out. And
so it's basically a giant pyramid scheme that thrives on consumption and greed and waste.
That's right.
Which cannot continue indefinitely because it's
completely unsustainable.
It grows so fast. Yeah, it's unsustainable.
So there's nothing in our monetary system that is sustainable, because it's not profitable, basically, and also it's not efficient. If it was efficient, the average lifespan of most electronics wouldn't be less than 3 months before they're obsolete. Another major point, which ties into the Venus Project, is that the monetary system produces scarcity. And the monetary system was created in times of great scarcity, when we didn't have the technological and scientific ability to produce enough for people. What this means is that abundance can never occur in a monetary system, because this actually goes against the laws of supply and demand. If a diamond company finds 10 times the amount of diamonds, it makes the price go down.
You know that well from your business background.
That's right.
Yeah.
And the realization is that with our science and technology, we actually do have the means of creating abundance all over the world very easily. And this would eradicate all the detrimental consequences, both psychological and structural, that scarcity produces. Another main one is obviously profit. From old free market economists like Adam Smith, who philosophized that self-interest would lead to the socially optimal situation in society. But what usually isn't talked about is that having a society based on competition will invariably lead to strategic corruption, power and wealth consolidation, social stratification, technological paralysis, labor abuse, and a covert form of government dictatorship by the elite.
It certainly has. I think there's 3 billion people in the world that are living on less than $2 a day.
Exactly.
That would tell you Adam Smith was dead wrong, and the British Empire is not doing anything for anyone except the people at the top who control it.
Yeah. And one last point to mention is the distortion of values, which might be the most difficult aspect to consider. These things: greed, competition, ego, jealousy, vanity. They're all produced by our system. We're not born with these things. And they're really just distorted byproducts of the monetary system, and they're all continually being reinforced by the scarcity-oriented environment generated by the monetary system. And therefore, we shouldn't be surprised when these are the dominant values that are reinforced in society today.
Yeah, it seems to me we have a scientific dictatorship tells us that these things are intrinsic to us, especially this war thing. I don't think war is a part of human nature at all.
Definitely not.